our breakfast with Jesus. Um, for those of you that are just coming up, or those of you that don't know me, my name is Ray Valentine. I am from St. Peter and Paul Epiphany Parish, located out in Williamsburg. And I'm on the J46. So, first of all, before we even start, I wanted to give somebody, you guys, I don't know if you guys are ready or anything, 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, maybe even a minute, to go get your cup of coffee, or if you have it, great, a cup of tea, something with a special cup that you guys have. I know that some of us already have our special cups available. So I'm just gonna, give you about a minute. Give you about a minute to go get your cup of coffee and your, whatever your special drink for the morning. So I see Felix is already on his way to go get his. So, you know, it's one of the greatest way of starting the day with your favorite drink. So why not? Why not? So I'll give you a couple of seconds. Let's see what happens here. So in preparing for this retreat, we decided to focus on the Gospel of John, chapter 21. When doing our research, we came across John chapter 21, verses 1 to 25, where it's often referred as breakfast with Jesus. And we thought that it would be an awesome theme for the retreat. During this retreat, through the different talks, we will focus on where we have been, where we are, and where we want to be. But today, I'm here to talk about breakfast. What are the physical aspects of breakfast? You're tired, no energy. You have to put in effort to make breakfast, to nourish yourself. And then, you actually have to do some things to wake up in the morning and stuff. So I was supposed to give some example for breakfast. Unfortunately, as you can see, as a drive-by on the train, sorry. I'm actually here, my daughter's graduation. So, sometimes we wake up in the morning, we're such in a rush to do certain things, and we forget about the best meal that God has to offer us, and that's breakfast. Our lives as humans, we do so many things. We wake up, we got to get the kids ready. We have kids, whatever. You have to do something. Sometimes we forget the most important part of letting ourselves be still. Our spiritual breakfast should be that moment we take just for God, just him and you, and just speak. Pull out your favorite cup of coffee, milk, whatever you want to drink with your cup, and just speak with him. Sometimes we don't put this effort into these times with God because, again, we wake up in the morning, name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. As we're doing things, we're praying, but we never give that moment for him. So here's about, adding me about making breakfast. Well, let me go back. This past month, we had a death in the family. It was my father-in-law. My wife's Maria's father passed away. A man that dedicated his whole life to God. I've admired this man for 34 years of being around him and appreciating him and everything he's done. But it's weird because it took his death for me to understand a month later what he was actually trying to tell me, times when we would hang out with him on Friday nights and stuff. And one of the biggest things, and this is the truth, he talked about eating breakfast with God. And it's weird how this all came about. And but never thought about it. And then when we got together, and unfortunately I wasn't around for the first two meetings through the death, but this equipo was awesome. This equipo had me, no, we need you, we want you, we you're part of this. So here came the theme, breakfast with Jesus. So ironic that this all came about at the same time. So I decided that it is very important that we take that moment in our time in the morning, especially to give it to God, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I always say, don't give it a minute, because everybody could pray in a minute. Give them 5 minutes of your life. Give them 5 minutes to tell them, thank you. Thank you for waking me up. Thank you for letting me speak to you through my heart and through my soul and my faith. So that's the breakfast. When I cook my breakfast in the mornings, the scrambled eggs, the bacon, egg, and cheese, that's the way I eat. I don't eat, veggie stuff and at that moment. But what does breakfast with Jesus mean to you? Before I'm going to introduce a video to you guys, the Bible verse, and we're going to circle back later on to talk about the video. So at this moment, I'm going to have my cup of coffee and joy, and I will be passing it over to Pilo. Here you go, Pilo.
Coffee mug. All right, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Paolo, live in J145 and live in JJ27. So before we start, I kind of want to include everybody on this, but don't worry, you won't be seen on Facebook feed. It's only going to be the equipo. So I want to invite you to, if you would like to participate, to please turn on your cameras. And if you have your coffee mug with you, we're going to do a small morning gratitude activity with our cup of coffee, or whichever you prefer, whatever preferred drink you have in the morning. All right, so morning coffee gratitude. The best way to start off your day is to spend a few minutes thinking of all the things that you are grateful for. If you're worried about finding the time to do this, or finding a way to remember to give thanks each morning, tie your morning gratitude session to your morning cup of coffee. For morning gratitude, all you need is a cup of coffee or tea, lemon water, or whatever you already normally drink in the morning. So to start with, sit holding up the cup in your hand. Take a pause and take a deep breath. Smell the coffee and think what you're about to drink. Thank it for being part of your daily routine. Now take a sip. As you feel the warmth, start thanking your body for doing what it naturally does, for the sleep you got last night, and how it knows instantly to shut it all down, to be able to wake up right now, even for the ability to hold the cup that you are grasping. Thank your body for doing even the smallest task without even being asked to do it. And now take a pause. Think about what your day is going to be like today. Thank God for giving you this day to be alive. Because the more we give space for gratitude and being mindful for the beautiful gift of being alive, the richer our lives can become. Thank God for the invitations to learn, love, lean in again and again. Every moment is a gift, just like that. And the fourth is focus your attention on one area you desire to be grateful for today. So think, what would you like to be grateful for today? What experiences in life would you like to experience? Where do you want to focus your attention and desire in today? And then lastly, take another sip. And you could do this activity in the mornings, and you can repeat this activity, the last part, to take a sip until you run out of things to be grateful for. So now that we've come to a point of calm, I want us to all think back to where our life with Christ started. So in order to do that, as we saw in the video, we saw kind of the end of Peter talking to Jesus. But now let's think back to where that experience started with Peter. And as we look back on where Peter started, think back to where we ourselves started. So
after this, Jesus appeared once more to his disciples at Lake Tiberias. This is how it happened. Simon Peter, Thomas, called the twin, Nathanael, the one from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples of Jesus were all together. Simon Peter said to the others,
"I'm going fishing."
"We will come with you," they told him. So they went out in a boat, but all that night they did not catch a thing. As the sun was rising, Jesus stood at the water's edge. But the disciples did not know that it was Jesus.
"Young men, haven't you caught anything?" "Not a thing." "Throw your net out on the right side of the boat, and you will catch some."
So they threw the net out and could not pull it back in, because they had caught so many fish. The disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter,
"It is the Lord."
When Peter heard that it was the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken his clothes off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples came to shore in the boat, pulling the net full of fish. They were not very far from land, about 100 yards away. When they stepped ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish on it and some bread.
"Bring some of the fish you've just caught."
Simon Peter went aboard and dragged the net ashore full of big fish, 153 in all. Even though there were so many, still the net did not tear.
"Come and eat."
None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. So Jesus went over, took the bread, and gave it to them. He did the same with the fish. This then was the 3rd time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from death. After they had eaten, Jesus said to Simon Peter,
"Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these others do?" "Yes, Lord. You know that I love you. Take care of my lambs."
A 2nd time, Jesus said to him,
"Simon, son of John, do you love me?"
"Yes, Lord. You know that I love you."
"Take care of my sheep."
A 3rd time, Jesus said,
"Simon, son of John, do you love me?"
Peter became sad because Jesus asked him the 3rd time, "Do you love me?" And so he said to him,
"Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you."
"Take care of my sheep." I am telling you the truth. When you were young, you used to get ready and go anywhere you wanted to. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will tie you up and take you where you don't want to go.
In saying this, Jesus was indicating the way in which Peter would die and bring glory to God. Then Jesus said to him,
Follow me.
Peter turned round and saw behind him that other disciple whom Jesus loved, the one who had leaned close to Jesus at the meal and had asked, Lord, who is going to betray you? When Peter saw him, he asked,
Lord, what about this man? I want him to live until I come. What is that to you? Follow me.
So a report spread among the followers of Jesus that this disciple would not die. But Jesus did not say he would not die. He said, if I want him to live until I come, what is that to you? He is the disciple who spoke of these things, the one who also wrote them down, and we know that what he said is true. Now there are many other things that Jesus did. If they were all written down one by one, I suppose that the whole world could not hold the books that would be written.
Jesus called Peter to follow him. Peter had to make an initial decision. He had to say, yes, I will, or no, I won't. Jesus said yes. He committed his life to Christ. After Jesus was crucified, Peter went back to his fishing, to his life before Jesus. But he realized that without a personal, ongoing relationship with Christ, that cause was meaningless. When Christ talked with him by the Sea of Tiberias, he restored that relationship and commissioned him to feed his flock. When Jesus says, follow me, he calls us first and foremost to a relationship with himself. As we follow him, he leads us into a needy world and directs us to tasks specifically designed for us. As we take a look back on where we've been, let's take a second to think about our own calling. Whether it was a friend, a family member, somebody from the parish, maybe a priest, youth director, deacon, or even a complete stranger that had invited us to meet Christ. What was our initial decision? Did we take some time to think about it? Did we say yes right away? Or maybe we said no the first time around? Think about how we respond to Christ when Christ spoke to us. In many ways, Christ seeks contact with us, but we need to have an open heart that is ready to listen. In every human encounter, in every moving experience of nature, in every apparent coincidence, in every challenge, every suffering, there is a hidden message from Christ to us. Christ gives you an opportunity. And every time I think about this, how, we have an opportunity, I always think back to the scene in the movie Evan Almighty. For those who have seen it, maybe those who haven't seen it, maybe you should check it out. There's a scene where Evan Almighty's wife is at the restaurant. She's about to leave him because she thinks he went crazy, thinking that he's Noah and trying to build an ark. And God is disguised as the waiter, and he gives her advice. And basically says to her, if someone prays for patience, do you think God gives them patience? Or does he give them the opportunity to be patient? If they pray for courage, does God give them courage, or does he give them the opportunity to be courageous? And if someone prays for their family to be closer, you think God zaps them with warm, fuzzy feeling, or does he give them the opportunity to love each other? St. Augustine says, you have made us for yourself, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. Christ has placed in our hearts a longing to seek and find him. A person is not completely himself until he has found Christ. Our retreat is based on John chapter 21, Breakfast with Jesus. Jesus tells Peter, when you were younger,
You used to fasten your own belt and go wherever you wish. But when you grew old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will fasten a belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go. He was referring to what was going to happen to Peter later in life. But when I read this, I think about how we, and I use myself as an example, at one point when we first met Christ, we would go anywhere and we would be full of life. But just like Peter, at one point in our life, Peter went back to fishing. We ourselves, went back to our daily routine as we grew older. But it's important to look back sometimes. Every moment in our past has served as a single brick to building the lives we all live today. As I always like the saying, it says, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in Christ, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you on the well-worn path. And that will make the difference. So when we do take a look, let's keep a few things in mind and a few reasons why we look back. To remind ourselves how far we've come. To keep an open mind and practice empathy. To remind ourselves of our mission in life. So once again, I asked you, if you could sit around the fire eating breakfast with Jesus, what would you talk to him about? What would you ask him? Have breakfast with Jesus. Meet him by your seashore and listen to him and do what he tells you to do, because you and your world will never be the same. And as our message at the beginning said, it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. So as we take a look back, let's keep these three things in mind.
Tu voz me llama a las aguas, donde mis pies pueden fallar. Ahí te encuentro en lo incierto, caminaré sobre el mar. A tu nombre clamaré. En ti mis ojos fijaré. En tempestad descansaré en tu poder, pues tuyo soy hasta el final. Tu gracia abunda en la tormenta, tu mano, Dios, fronteras, más allá de las barreras, a donde tú me llames, tú me llevas más allá de lo soñado, donde puedo estar confiado al estar en tu presencia. Que tu espíritu me guíe sin fronteras, más allá de las barreras, a donde tú me llames, me llevas más allá de lo soñado, donde puedo estar confiado al estar en tu presencia. A tu nombre clamaré, en ti mis ojos fijaré, en tempestad descansaré en tu poder, pues tuyo soy hasta el
Everyone, welcome to Breakfast with Jesus. Yeah, so if you hear me giggling a lot, it's because like I'm nervous. This is my first time doing something like this, so yeah. So my name is Christy Guerrero. I'm living J185 and JJ35. I'm from the lovely Zone 2. I have my cafecito here. This mug is actually my sister's, so I don't know where she got it from, unfortunately. I have a pen and I have a paper. So the name of my charla is called Recognizing Jesus. So I want to start off with this question. What do you need in order to be a fisherman? So I want us all to take this time, write down some, what does it take to be, what do you need in order to be a fisherman? So I think you need this. Well, you need a boat, a fishing rod, some bait, access to a body of water, preferably with some fish in it. You need a net or something to hold the fish that you catch. Probably a snack or maybe like a hobby to do when it's quiet, when there's lulls. Maybe you need to have some knowledge of how to fish, of how to toss your rod, maybe the good places to toss your rod. You need to know where to even park your boat, probably how to barter if you catch any extra fish. You most definitely need a lot of patience, alertness and awareness, and maybe a sense of humor, because you're not always going to bring home a lot of fish. So by now, each of us have probably compiled a list of different things that you need to be a fisherman. Our list may look similar, but they probably most definitely have some differences between them. So our lists are shaped by what we know about fishermen, and these are our experiences. So I have this quote for you that I found that I thought correlated really well to what we're going to talk about today. So it's by B.J. Neblett. We are the sum total of our experiences. Those experiences, be they positive or negative, make us the person we are at any given point in our lives. And like a flowing river, Those same experiences and those yet to come continue to influence and reshape the person we are and the person we become. None of us are the same as we were yesterday, nor will we be tomorrow. So I really like that quote. Yeah, so when I was 5, my favorite color was blue. I love to wear princess dresses. My favorite food was the chocolate sprinkle donut from Dunkin' Donuts. And you always said the sign of the cross, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, when you enter church. Always, always, always. So I'm 25 now. My favorite color is now purple. I don't really care for princess dresses anymore. The chocolate sprinkle donut is still the best donut. I don't care. And now I know that whenever the candle next to the tabernacle is lit, you genuflect because the body of Jesus Christ is inside. There is a term for people who have been born and raised as Catholic. This term is cradle Catholic, and for some of us it may apply. It basically means that our parents and family were Catholics, so they raised us as Catholic. They brought us to church on Sundays for Mass. They had us receive the sacraments, maybe even had us participate in our church community. We were raised in the traditions that our family had been brought up with. So, it means Easter, Christmas, maybe a cross or a crucifix in every room of the house. But above all, it means the belief that God loves us. God loves us so much that he sent us his only son, Jesus Christ, who died for our sins. And then there's another group of us who didn't grow up cradle Catholic. For some of us, we first become aware of Catholicism, specifically Roman Catholicism, by living our Jornada retreat. For many of us, even those who grew up Catholic, it is the first time that we meet God, the first time that we meet Jesus. It is the first time that we learn about our faith outside of the lines of faith formation. The Jornada retreat shows us how we can live a life of faith while still being our authentic selves. We are shown how to intertwine our faith into daily practice by reflecting on charlas, as well as finding fellowships that turn to friendships that turn to family. And it's God literally meeting us where we are at that point in our lives. On the 4th day, the longest day, we go back to reality and we become like the disciples, fishing at night, catching no fish. So put aside the fact that we decided to go fishing at night. Let's put that aside. It's about to be morning time. We caught no fish, so we have nothing to eat. It's a group of us, so we're all looking at each other like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Well, what are we gonna do? Sometimes it feels like we become the little kid who doesn't know what to pick. A candy bar or the $100 bill. Picking the candy bar will satisfy our needs, but it's only for a moment. We will feel like we've accomplished something until we finish that candy bar and we have nothing left. There is nothing wrong with picking the candy bar. Sometimes it feels like picking the candy bar is our only option. However, $100 can buy us a significant amount of candy bars. They can buy us a lot of candy bars. $100 can buy us candy bars and maybe a water bottle or 2 or 3. $100 can change our situation. But do our experiences tell us to pick the $100 bill? So we hear this all the time, multiple times, honestly, maybe not enough times, that our retreat provides us with the tools to continue to live our 4th day. So I want us all to take a break. So let's think back to our Jornada weekend, or if you live JJ, think back to your JJ weekend and just really think. I want us to write down or just think about the tools that weekend has provided you with. So my paper, I'm gonna write some down. Okay, so our tools may look similar to each other, but we each use them in different ways that suit our needs that come from our experiences. So let's go back to the disciples, our fishermen. It is morning time. We have no fish. But this guy is telling us to go throw our net to the other side, that we will catch fish over there. And we listen to him. We catch fish. We catch so much fish that we have trouble bringing it back to the shore. And once we're on the shore, there's a fire. There's more fish. And there's bread. This guy is not some random stranger. This guy is Jesus, and I know him and you know him. I recognize him and you recognize him. I recognize what he has done for me and my friends. You recognize what he has done for you and your friends. We recognize what he has done for us and for our friends. Recognizing Jesus and recognizing the opportunities he gives us is not always easy. It involves much more than just knowledge of Catholic traditions. It involves experiences and the tools that we gain along the way. These tools evolve over time as well. Sometimes we receive the tools we don't need at the moment, or we don't know how to use yet. 6 years ago, I would not be able to tell you that I recognize Jesus in my everyday life. Tradition isn't enough. One can know all the Psalms in the Missal and know when to bow and when to genuflect during Mass and not be able to recognize that Jesus is right in front of them, offering them a hand. And yeah, that was basically me 6 years ago. I would not have been able to tell you that Jesus was right in front of me had he been there. And I knew when to bow and genuflect, and I knew all the Psalms in the Missals. Could not tell you. So, we have simple tools such as prayer, reading the Bible, attending Mass. We have tools that evolve, such as being a part of a church community, moving from being a catechist to being a lector or Eucharistic minister, or perhaps joining one of the many groups at our parishes. We have tools that become complex, meaning prayer turns into meditation and reflection. Those groups that we are part of turns into holy hour, adoration, benediction hours. We have tools that we receive when we're younger that we don't necessarily know how to use, such as taking part in communion, going to confession, the works of mercy, not just the corporal ones, but also the spiritual ones, etc. So as we go on in life, we try to fit all of these tools, and we think of them as individual, so that when they fail, and they will, because we see them as individual, we become discouraged, we become disillusioned, that we step away from our faith. When you stop thinking of the tools, these gifts, as individual, it actually becomes a whole lot easier to recognize Jesus in your everyday life. So, if it is our responsibility to use our tools to recognize Jesus in our lives, whose responsibility is it to show us how to utilize them? Is it our parents? Is it the parish or our parish community? Is it the movement? Or is it our experiences? And I leave you with that. I leave you with some open-ended questions to ponder, to think about, that don't need to be answered right now. It's something that as we continue going on our everyday lives on our fourth day, that we will learn the answer to. So yeah, I hope you guys liked what I had to say. Enjoy the rest of the charlas.
Cuando terminaron de comer, Jesús dijo a Simón Pedro: Simón, hijo de Juan, ¿me amas más que estos? Contestó, sí, Señor, tú sabes que te quiero. Jesús le dijo, apacienta mis corderos. Le preguntó por segunda vez, Simón, hijo de Juan, ¿me amas? Pedro volvió a contestar, sí, Señor, tú sabes que te quiero. Jesús le dijo, cuida mis ovejas. Insistió Jesús por tercera vez, Simón Pedro, hijo de Juan, ¿me quieres? Pedro se puso triste al ver que Jesús le preguntaba por tercera vez si lo quería y le contestó, Señor, tú lo sabes todo, tú sabes que te quiero. Entonces Jesús le dijo, apacienta mis ovejas. Cuando terminaron de comer, Jesús dijo a Simón Pedro, Simón, hijo de Juan, ¿me amas más que estos? Contestó, sí, Señor, tú sabes que te quiero. Jesús le dijo, apacienta mis corderos. Le preguntó por segunda vez, Simón, hijo de Juan, ¿me amas? Pedro volvió a contestar, sí, Señor, tú sabes que te quiero. Jesús le dijo, cuida mis ovejas. Insistió Jesús por tercera vez, Simón Pedro, hijo de Juan, ¿me quieres? Pedro se puso triste al ver que Jesús le preguntaba por tercera vez si lo quería y le contestó, Señor, tú lo sabes todo, tú sabes que te quiero. Entonces Jesús le dijo, apacienta mis ovejas. Buenos días. Como vemos, esta mañana estamos meditando en un desayuno con Jesús. Yo me quiero enfocar, como ustedes ya oyeron, en la parte de la lectura de Juan 21, del 15 al 17. Como escuchamos y como vemos, Jesús le tiene una pregunta a Pedro de distinta forma. Él primero le dice, ¿me amas más que estos? Esto se refería desde luego a los otros discípulos, porque estaban en un grupo, pero él está hablando solo con Pedro. ¿Tú me amas a mí mucho? Le pregunta. Entonces la segunda vez, otra vez, Jesús le pregunta a Simón, hijo de Juan, ¿me amas? Entonces ya la segunda vez que Jesús le está preguntando a Pedro, ¿me amas? Y una tercera vez que vemos, él le dice, Simón Pedro, hijo de Juan, ¿me quieres? Como vemos, Jesús le pregunta, ¿me amas? ¿Me amas? ¿Me quieres? Vamos a enfocarnos un poco en esas palabras, amar y querer. Como sabemos, nosotros lo podemos interpretar de diferentes maneras, pero ahorita nos queremos enfocar en esta manera. Amar, pues ya sabemos, es amar, dar todo el corazón a una persona o algo. Por ejemplo, yo amo a Dios, yo amo a mi familia, ¿verdad? Pero luego está el querer. Uno puede querer varias cosas, varias personas, que es, podemos verlo como una manera de dar parte de corazón, pero también está la otra forma de querer, que es querer como anhelar, desear, querer con todo el alma, querer, ¿verdad? Y basada en la respuesta que Jesús recibe de Pedro, nos da a pensar, a lo mejor Jesús le preguntaba, ¿me quieres? De una manera de que me deseas, me anhelas, ¿verdad? Y en la respuesta de Pedro, en la última parte, ¿verdad? ¿Me quieres? Pedro se puso triste al ver que Jesús le preguntaba por tercera vez si lo quería, ¿verdad? ¿Por qué se habrá puesto triste Pedro? ¿Será quizás porque Pedro negó a Jesús 3 veces el día que lo capturaron? ¿Será que eso le dolió? Porque Jesús le había dicho, tú me negarás 3 veces antes cante el gallo. Y Pedro le dijo a Jesús, no, eso no va a pasar, yo te amo con todo el corazón, yo te seguiré hasta la muerte. ¿Y qué pasó? Pedro terminó negando a Jesús 3 veces. Entonces ahora con que Jesús le está preguntando a Pedro 3 veces, ¿me amas? ¿Me amas? ¿Me quieres? Como que a lo mejor eso le dolió a Pedro. Recordar y reconocer, porque es una cosa, reconoció que le fallé al Señor. Yo lo negué 3 veces, ¿verdad? Entonces quizás eso, por eso es que él con tristeza contesta, Señor, tú lo sabes todo. Jesús no estuvo ahí cuando Pedro negó a Jesús, porque Jesús estaba allá adentro, Pedro estaba afuera. Pero como él reconoce, Señor, tú lo sabes todo. Tú sabes que te quiero. Entonces, a pesar de todo, a pesar de que él lo haya negado 3 veces y le falló al Señor cuando él le dijo que no lo haría, él reconoce ese anhelo y él le dice, tú sabes que yo te quiero. Y ya que estamos hablando acerca de las respuestas de Pedro a Jesús, nos podemos dar cuenta en las otras contestaciones que Pedro le dio a Jesús. Cuando Jesús le preguntaba por la primera vez que si lo amaba, él le dijo, sí, Señor, tú sabes que te quiero. En el tono en que lo leemos, como que no nos da mucho sentimiento. Sentimos el sentimiento en la tercera vez, porque le causó tristeza. Pero en las primeras veces que él le dijo, sí, yo te quiero, Señor, tú sabes que yo te quiero. Es como cuando si le dijéramos nosotros a alguien, yo te amo. Hey, I love you. Y nos contestaran, me too. Oye, I love you too. Sí, yo también. Pero muchas veces nosotros quisiéramos escuchar, I love you too. Yo también te amo. ¿Verdad? Como que hay un poco de diferencia en las respuestas. Entonces, después de que Pedro le contesta a Jesús que sí lo quería, que sí lo quiere con todo el corazón, nos damos cuenta que sí lo quiere con todo el corazón, con el dolor que él sintió cuando le preguntó por tercera vez. Jesús le encarga a Pedro unas cuantas cosas. Él le dice, apacienta mis corderos. Luego le encarga a que cuide sus ovejas y apaciente sus ovejas. Ok, so vamos a ver primero oveja y cordero. Como ya sabemos, el cordero es la criatura de la oveja. La oveja es la forma adulta del animal y el cordero es lo más pequeño, el bebé. En los ojos de Dios somos los dos. Somos sus hijos, somos sus seguidores. ¿Verdad? Nosotros somos sus ovejas del Señor. ¿Verdad? Entonces Jesús le encarga a que apaciente y que cuide. Pero, ¿qué es apacientar? Apacientar es algunas cuantas cosas distintas. Apacientar es dar de comer, amaestrear, enseñar. O de alguna forma la podemos ver como guiar, ¿verdad? Jesús nos está encargando con Pedro, para que Pedro sea nuestro guía espiritual para llevarnos hacia Jesús. También le encarga que nos cuide. ¿Por qué cuidarnos? Si nosotros fácilmente nos podemos descarrilar o nos podemos, ¿cómo se dice? Descarriar pues del camino del Señor fácilmente, porque en este mundo en que vivimos hoy en día nos da muchos obstáculos, nos trae muchas distracciones, que nosotros pensamos que vamos bien y nos olvidamos, ¿verdad? Jesús le encargó a Pedro, y si nos acordamos también, Jesús estableció la iglesia sobre Pedro. Entonces Pedro, como la cabeza de la iglesia, él es nuestro primer guía para instruirnos espiritualmente, ¿verdad? Para instruirnos religiosamente. Y eso es lo que le encargaba a Jesús, a que nos guiara, a que nos cuidara, a que nos diera de comer. Desde luego no es una comida física, ¿verdad? Claro, Pedro no nos está trayendo una hamburguesa y una orden de papas a la mesa, pero él, con los principios que empezó con la iglesia, nosotros hemos podido alimentarnos espiritualmente. Nos hemos podido alimentar en la fe, ¿verdad? En la misa escuchamos la palabra, escuchamos la homilía, escuchamos las enseñanzas. Nos estamos alimentando espiritualmente, ¿verdad? En la misa nosotros tenemos un momento en silencio con Jesús. Nosotros cuando comulgamos tenemos un momento con Jesús, porque Jesús está aquí cuando comulgamos, ¿verdad? Quizás no lo tendríamos si no tuviéramos iglesia, y si la iglesia no hubiera empezado como empezó, ¿verdad? Y para culminar esta breve plática, nosotros como ovejas también tenemos influencia sobre otras ovejas. Los animales tienen influencia con otros animales. Nosotros como humanos también tenemos influencia sobre otras personas, ¿verdad? Quizás aquellos que nos ven lo que hacemos y hacen lo que hacemos, o nos siguen nuestros pasos, ¿verdad? Nosotros como una persona de influencia hay que preguntarnos: ¿estoy deseando de Jesús? ¿Yo amo a Jesús? ¿Yo quiero a Jesús? Pero no querer de que sí, yo quiero a Jesús, sino que yo quiero a Jesús. ¿Y qué estoy haciendo yo para que otros quieran a Jesús? Para que otros amen a Jesús también, ¿verdad? Porque aunque nosotros somos las ovejas, nosotros también nos podemos guiar unos a los otros. Nosotros también nos podemos compartir la comida espiritual. Nosotros también nos podemos ayudar a alimentarnos en nuestra fe, en nuestra religión, en nuestra espiritualidad. ¿Qué estoy haciendo yo para ayudar, para cuidar, para apacientar mis compañeros ovejas? ¿Qué estoy haciendo yo para cuidar y apacientar a mis compañeros carnales? Pensamos nosotros que si nosotros estamos haciendo lo que Jesús quiere que nosotros hagamos. Gracias y que tengan buen día.
What's up, everyone? My name is Julio Trujillo. I am from the Parish of Blessed Sacrament, living J170, and today I am super excited to just be able to share spiritually with all of you guys that have been able to make it here. Our reading is based on our whole concept of this retreat is based off John chapter 21, breakfast with Jesus. And in that chapter, the disciples go almost back into a regular routine of life post Jesus being, crucified. And in that specific chapter, the disciples are on a boat and they aren't catching anything until Jesus appears to them anonymously on the beach and tells them to throw the net over the right side. And Lord and behold, they catch a lot of fish. And then the disciples realize that that's Jesus. So they jump out of the boat and, Peter jumps out of the boat and the rest of them follow towards the beach to meet up with them. Now, I'm sure we have already talked about the reading enough, but in my case, I just want to bring a bridge closer to the reading with the Jornada in regards to how we are going to handle our future as a movement. Let me start off by saying that this movement as a whole is very, very resilient. The very first example that I want to give of how resilient this movement is the Jornada Heals Challenge at the beginning of the pandemic. Yes, COVID-19 did happen to us. It's happening still. It's happening to the world. And, sadly, one of the difficult processes of the virus being has made it for us to spiritually be fed. And, as Jornadistas, we're used to meeting up on Wednesdays for trans to receive, a message from our peers and go to church as well. We go to, zone visits, we go to plegarias. We have a bunch of events that are, as a whole, present for one another. We have to be there pretty much. But thanks to COVID, that sadly is impossible. So, like I said, back to the way that this movement was resilient. The Jornada Heals Challenge was a specific example of how resilient we are as a movement. COVID had started, we entered quarantine, but as Jornadistas, we were challenging pretty much our fellow peers to go on their social media pages, which we usually, besides, if we're working, we'll put like J170, we can put J whatever in our bios. But besides that, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I'm just trying to give an example of what people do. So in this case, this challenge was actually like pushing us as Jornadistas to be transparent with all of our followers about the Jornada and our lifestyle in a sense. So we would film ourselves, try to give a spiritual message within the allotted time, and then we would nominate 3 other people to partake in the challenge. Us as Jornadistas, our movement is one where now we are going to start evolving, because not only are we having retreats via video, on Wednesdays we have a Jornadista roundtable where other Jornadistas come and they share and gather ideas that, spiritually can feed other Jornadistas that are looking for that extra spirituality. I'm not saying that this is going to be a way to replace what we have done in the past, but however, what I am going to say is this is going to allow us to evolve so that we don't become stale, we don't become redundant. Like, we are literally having a retreat right now on Zoom. We're bringing messages of Christ to you guys at home through a TV, through a little screen. But not only that, other ways as the Jornada movement grows and continues to adapt, to these new times, we have so many other tools at our disposal nowadays that we have a pretty good grasp on. When was the last time that we as jornalistas used Instagram tags to look up scriptures and, try to get messages for our personal use and for maybe use of our groups? Another example could be using YouTube. And if you've done a charla, people rely on YouTube a lot, but I feel like YouTube is an unspoken hero, because in this sense, we can host charlas, we can record everything for everyone, just like in the first retreat. And now, as a movement, for those that didn't actually attend the charla, now they have that at their disposal on YouTube. Now, if you're looking for something specific that you may have heard during the retreat, you can just go online, click on it, and now you have that specific little snippet of what you were looking for. Okay, so as jornalistas, I feel like now with tools that we have at our disposal, we have to stop with the fact that some of us may have been using the whole COVID situation as negative in trying to feed ourselves spiritually. And I'm going to use myself as an example here. I personally didn't actually consider COVID to make it harder for me to try to get something spiritually, and it actually made it easier for me to ignore that, in the sense of, oh, I have enough spirituality, why am I going to log on to this, why am I going to log on to that? But in reality, it should push us to take that extra step, even if it is to log on to a Zoom, even if it is even if you can't be at church present, you can be somewhere where you are being fed spiritually. Now, there's no excuse nowadays. So in the same way that maybe, in John chapter 21, again, going back to the reading and why it's so important, that the disciples had Jesus appear to them. Jesus showed up on the beach. He told them, throw your net over. They threw their net over. They believed. And in a sense, after when they came back onto the beach and they, embraced Jesus and they sat down and ate with him, that's the same way that we are using these retreats now in order for us to get our spirituality. So if we can make that connection between the reading and our real life situation, I feel like us as a movement, we are going to be in a better position to better ourselves, to put ourselves in a position where we can actually reach out to other people without having to be in front of them. So, I just want to make a little reference to our theme as a breakfast. For the people that are accustomed to drinking hot coffee, and there are some people that don't like drinking hot coffee. At the end of the day, it's still coffee, but the invention of making iced coffee is something on par as we have one message, which would be the coffee, but there are more than one ways. There is more than one way to get that message to different people. We have the ability now to cater to more than just one type of, demographic. As a group, and I'm talking as a whole group, we should use all the resources that are available to us to better ourselves, to better our groups, to, if we feel like someone needs a little bit more spirituality, we can easily tag them in something that, can do that for them. I just think as a movement, the same way that the disciples may have, entered this period of stalemateness because Jesus wasn't physically there, and us as a movement, us not being able to congregate together in person, I feel like it's important for us to realize that at the end of the day, it's the message that we are trying to get across that is the important thing. The way we go about getting that message to the others is going to be based on, what we can and what we can't do. So we have to learn from everything, learn from everyone, be open to using different social media, but I'm going to say, spiritual posts, quotes. We can use hashtags that can uplift our brothers and sisters spiritually. So also, I just want us to, moving forward, be okay with challenging ourselves to do things that are out of our comfort zone. This recording has been completely out of my comfort zone. This is probably like the 200th take. You guys probably don't know that. But, ask the friends that, share this with like friends that you wouldn't think to share this with. It's fine. If you think that they would get something out of this, it's available, and you should push that. You should push God's message to others. It's fine. I'll challenge myself to go out and, convince my friends to watch this as well. So, I just want to say thank you to everyone. And, in regards to our future, I feel like as long as we put in the work, as long as we are able to stay united, we should have no problem whatsoever moving forward post-pandemic and going into our future. So just want to say thank you guys and hope you guys are enjoying your breakfast with Jesus.
Certain correlations to the gospel and to what we're going through today. And we try to bring that across the different talks and different messages. And I'm just going to leave you guys with some stuff to ponder on, some questions that you can think about and see how you can put them to use or give you a time to reflect, to be able to create a better you, to create a better jornalista, to create a better Catholic, to be a better in a better relationship with Christ. So just to sum up kind of like what we were trying to bring together today, when we're talking about breakfast with Jesus, we're talking about how you were called to follow Jesus. And when did you go back, like let's say go back to regular life, or when did you go astray? And how did Jesus try to call you back? And did you recognize Jesus inviting you to partake with him and to be back in communion with him? And when Jesus brings you together with him and he asks you, do you love me? Are you truly saying that you love him in reply? And are you doing what needs to be done to follow Jesus' command to take care of his sheep? And how are we going to adapt to what's going on in our lives today to make sure that we're taking care of the Lord's sheep? How can we adapt to make sure we continue to bring the young or the youth to Jesus, our model youth evangelizing youth? And, we have a lot of work ahead of us. And one of the things that Julio said is that, we're resilient. And that's so true. And, this pandemic may have played with us mentally, making us feel like we were losing our identity as jornalistas. Now that the world is starting to open up again, it's when the hard work really begins. If we want our movement to survive, we need to evolve and we need to put in the effort. Just how when we wake up in the morning and we're making breakfast, we're tired, we have no energy, we have no nourishment, but we still do what needs to get done in order to provide that breakfast to our body. That's what we need to do as well now with our spiritual side and with the movement, if we want the movement to continue. And we have to, if, you know, I guess just to wrap it, to kind of tie it back to the breakfast thing, you know, let Jesus be your caffeine. If, you know, if it's your coffee, let Jesus be your nourishment, your breakfast. If you start your day with breakfast with Jesus, you know, he's going to be the power that's going to bring you through your day. And he's going to be the one that's going to help you change the world. So that's kind of the message that we wanted to bring to everybody today.